Coming number 10, we have Amber Heard. A lot has gone down since Amber Heard spent a lot of money on legal fees during her high-profile legal battles with her ex-husband, Johnny Depp. Before, Amber's career started off slow, but once she was married to Johnny Depp, she was starting to become a household name. She was actually on the verge of becoming a huge star in Hollywood after gaining traction thanks to her roles in the films such as Justice League and Aquaman. However, after Amber had a really dramatic split from her ex-husband Johnny Depp in 2016, it seems like her bank account took a serious hit. It all started when Johnny first agreed to pay Amber $7 million as part of their initial divorce settlement, and she vowed to donate it. However, in 2021, the media then started to run with reports that claimed Amber didn't donate the money she promised she would. Her legal team would then defend her lack of actions made towards her by suggesting she had spent millions of dollars defending his accusations against her. Then jump to last year, Amber Heard would then be left to fork over $10 million in total following her highly publicized defamation suit case against Johnny Depp, which makes Amber currently worth negative $6 million. Number 9, Tyga. Back in 2015, Tyga would find himself being sued yet again over unpaid rent, which was worth a whopping $16,000 a month. And this wouldn't be the first time the rapper would find himself in a sticky situation, as in the past, he has even been ordered to pay around $80,000 in back rent to another landlord in the same neighborhood. Now, the Sunshine rapper is heading back to court because he has been skipping out on his court order payments for his Lamborghini and Bentley. Tyga apparently owes $481,000 for both cars because he needed to pay for both of the cars in interest, and he brought his debt to a total of $1.3 million. However, according to the Celebrity Net Worth, Tyga does have a net worth of $7 million despite being no stranger to lawsuits over missed payments and even tax issues. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming number 8, Kanye West. To say Kanye is poor would be an overstatement. However, the rapper did end up losing over $1 billion after he lost top brands such as Adidas, Gap, and the disgraced fashion house Balenciaga when they terminated their relationship over his controversial comments. He would also head himself towards a divorce with Kim Kardashian, where Kim would receive $1 million per year she was married to him, and she would also remain on Kanye's life insurance policy, which is valued around $20 million for the rest of her life. Kanye would also be ordered to pay Kim $200,000 a month. He is also responsible for 50% of his children's educational expenses, security expenses, and medical expenses, which doesn't leave Kanye in a good position as he lost majority of his fortune in just a blink of an eye. Number 7, 50 Cent. 50 Cent can arguably be one of the best rappers or one of the worst rappers that emerged out of the 90s. In 2015, 50 Cent had reportedly been in debt with $32.5 million as he was caught up in lawsuits and unpaid child support payments. The next year, he would then declare bankruptcy. Back in 2018, reports would then emerge. In them, it would be reported that 50 Cent was a millionaire again thanks to having $700 he was reportedly paid in on his 2014 album. However, then documents would state that that statement wasn't true, which left everyone wondering how much money he was actually worth because he's never owned any bitcoins. Number 6, Sugar Ray Williams. In the late 1970s throughout the mid-1980s, Williams was captain of the New York Knicks and played for the Boston Celtics 1985 finals team. But in 2010, the Boston Globe then reported that Williams was now sleeping in the backseat of his 1992 Buick in Palmano Beach, Florida. In interviews, Williams would then go on to say that he believes the NBA should be doing better when it comes to taking care of their retired players, as he is one of many former stars in need of assistance. In the interview, he would then go on to note, "Who I played the game. They always talk about loyalty to the team. Well, where's the loyalty and compassion for ex-players who are hurting? We open the door for the guys whose salaries are through the roof." As during a course of Williams' career, he blew over $2 million that he made in contracts during his career, which leads to the overall questions: do agencies like the Legends Foundation or the NBA Retired Players Association need to do more to help people like Williams, even though they've already given him grants that total around $12,000? Or did his coaches, teachers, and mentors all just fail him? Number 5. Natasha Lyonne. Orange is the New Black actor Natasha Lyonne was all over the big screen in the 90s and in films such as But I'm a Cheerleader, Slums of Beverly Hills, and American Pie. Her promising career was derailed after a series of encounters with law, but back in 2001 the actor would be arrested for driving under the influence, and in 2004 she would be charged with mischief, trespassing, and harassment of a neighbor and the neighbor's dog. These incidents were then followed by a 2005 hospitalization for a variety of ailments. She eventually was even evicted from a friend's townhouse and ended up on the streets. Since, Natasha has been trying to revitalize her career in acting by taking on roles in shows such as Orange is the New Black, Law & Order, and she's also appeared in an off-Broadway play called Tigers Be Still. Number 4. Brett Butler. In August 2021, it would be reported that former Grace Under Fire star Brett Butler had fallen under hard times when she became the recent subject of a GoFundMe fundraiser started by a friend, despite having made over $250,000 for an episode for her 1990s hit ABC comedy series. Brett would then tell The Hollywood Reporter that she was 6 months behind on her rent, and she was worried that she may have waited too long to allow her friends to launch a GoFundMe. While the star felt ashamed to start up the GoFundMe page to begin with, she knew she needed to enlist in help as she had been struggling to live with the pressure. 5 years after the show Grace Under Fire was cancelled, she would opt to become sober. Brett has also stated she ended up in her current predicament because of bad financial decisions, threat by people she trusted, and being unable to work. Number 3. MC Hammer. At one point in time, MC Hammer was known for his legitimate hit, You Can't Touch This, but it seems like the star then became only a one-hit wonder. After MC Hammer debuted his track, he would soon have around $30 million in his bank account. Thanks to his success, Hammer was also able to buy himself a $1 million mansion, and that he made over $30 million worth of adjustments, and he staffed 200 people in his home. He also brought a horse stable where he kept 19 race horses. Combined with his unrestrained spending and numerous lawsuits, Hammer declared bankruptcy in 1996 while he was reportedly $13 million in debt. In 2011, he then went on Oprah Winfrey's show to talk about spending most of his days in California, Silicon Valley, and being loosely involved with about 8 companies. Then for a brief period of time, he was also on tour in 2019. Number 2. Nicolas Cage. At one point in Nicolas Cage's life, he was one of Hollywood's biggest stars as he earned himself around $40 million alone in 2009. However, he then became one of Hollywood's biggest spenders, as he splurged pretty much all his money on things such as horses, automobiles, and rare artifacts. His precarious style then led him to sell many of his personal belongings, including a treasured comic book. And while many would stop there, Nicolas would then go on to spend a lot of his money on old artifacts such as a dinosaur skull, a collection of shrunken heads, and a couple of castles being in Germany and in the UK. Eventually, the National Treasure actor spent his entire fortune on $150 million on some of the most bizarre things. Despite working in Hollywood since 1982, he eventually ended up in debt after he spent majority of his money on some pretty insane things. Then, by 2006, Nicolas became so overwhelmed in debt that he owed the Internal Revenue Service a mega $6.3 million. By the age of 40, he then spent enough money to make himself broke, and then he started to shift his blame on his accountant and said he was sending him down a path of financial ruin. And coming in number 1 today, we have Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman was known for being a great rebounder and teammate of Michael Jordan for becoming an eccentric celebrity. Outside of sports, Rodman would then become known due to his short marriage with Carmen Electra, and eventually became an unofficial US ambassador for North Korea. Back in 2012, Rodman's lawyers said he could barely afford living expenses and he couldn't even pay his child support. At the time, he reportedly owed over $800,000 in back child support, but in court documents, his lawyer said he was broke and sick. Back in 2019, he would be accused of stealing a 400-pound amethyst crystal from a yoga studio, as well as more than $500 worth of clothing from brand like Spiritual Gangster and Lululemon. He then denied the allegations that were being held against him and said the merchandise was a given gift. Not to mention, he also famously kicked a cameraman in 1997 and was fined $200,000 while being suspended for 11 games. games. The incident would then cost him $1 million in earnings. Starting off our list today at number 10, we have Bella Thorne. Okay, obviously Bella Thorne isn't rock bottom poor, but surprisingly she isn't as rich as we all thought she was. Thanks to her racy Instagram pics and her revealing outfits, the former Disney Channel actress has been able to become a tabloid darling. In 2017, if you factor in on her again and off again relationship with Keeping Up with the Kardashian star Scott Disick, it's pretty much made Bella become quite a public profile. However, before Bella became the big name she is today, after she left Disney Channel, she had $200 to her name, and at the age of 18, she even had to overcome some dark experiences, which even included her going broke at the age of 18. Things definitely did take a turn for the actress later, as she is now worth $12 million. However, that's still a pretty low penny for Hollywood standards, and she might find herself in a tough spot again, as she's formed a reputation for partying with bad boys instead of fine-tuning her acting skills. Number 9. Lindsay Lohan. Even though her glory days as a Disney star and a box office success of Mean Girls are far behind her, at one point Lindsay Lohan was everyone's favorite Hollywood it girl turned bad, and even after her reputation caught up to her, she's still trying to make up for all of her losses. After reaching the peak of her career, when Lindsay's partying got out of control and she publicly started to air out all of her family's dirty laundry, she quickly began racking up legal troubles. Eventually, her public and private mess-ups led to her losing paid gigs, paired with her substance abuse problem. The star's stints have even caused her to go in and out of rehab, which caused her to have a never-ending number of unpaid bills. And as quickly Lindsay made money in her career, she ended up losing everything. Even after the star lost everything, she could still be seen taking lengthy vacations in the Mediterranean when she was not living in London, which caused us all to wonder how she was affording everything when her net worth was only worth $500,000 at the time. Things today though have taken a turn for the actress, as she's now worth $2 million thanks to her Netflix deal and her new marriage. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming at number 8, we have Ezra Miller. While Justice League is shaping up to be another sore loss for the DC Extended Universe, Ezra Miller's portrayal of the Flash has been heralded as a breakout performance, according to the nerdiest, with fans hoping that Ezra Miller's solo performance as a heroic speedster, the Flash, would fix the problems that have plagued DC's attempts to mimic Marvel movie success, would only be left feeling disappointed as the star began to spiral out of control. With Ezra having a pretty prominent role in the Harry Potter spin-off series Fantastic Beasts, you would think that the actor having 2 blockbuster franchises under his belt would be worth some serious coin. However, instead, the actor's annual salary is only $500,000, which is a little alarming considering Grant Gustin, the TV version of The Flash, is worth $2 million, making Ezra only worth $4 million today. So it really makes you wonder, how did that happen? Number 7. Kelly Rutherford. After Kelly Rutherford starred in the hit television series Gossip Girl, you would think she would be sitting in a pretty good spot these days. However, apparently the star is now only worth around $1 million, which is nothing compared to what she used to be worth. Sadly, Kelly lost a lot of her money during a bitter 6-year custody battle over her children, and when her court case was finally settled, a judge would grant full custody to her German ex-husband Daniel, and Kelly would be only permitted to visit her kids in France and Monaco. Back in 2015, the Daily Mail would also report that Kelly's legal fees at the end totaled around $1.4 million, which forced the actress to file for bankruptcy back in 2013. Later, Kelly would also tell Vanity Fair that divorce is a total racket. Let's call it what it is. Everyone's making tons of money off of stupid people who don't settle out of court. And for somebody like my ex-husband, who has unlimited funds, who sued Google, this is just a sort of side fun project. Yikes. Number 6. Stephen Amell. Stephen Amell is a well-known Hollywood actor thanks to his role in the CW's hit show The Arrow. His time as the DC comic hero Green Arrow has been so successful that the series began a linchpin for shared TV universe that has grown to include The Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, and animated spin-offs. But despite the affectionately named Arrowverse flying high with fans worldwide, Stephen has a net worth of only $3 million, After 6 seasons of The Arrow and a supporting role in the 2016 summer blockbuster Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, his overall net worth just seems a little weak, and it's honestly just makes no sense. Hopefully in the future, Steven's agent will be able to hit a bullseye when it comes to Steven's future salary negotiations, as the star is being ripped off. Number 5, we have Alicia Vikander. After critically acclaimed performance in the sci-fi thriller Ex Mechanica, Swedish actress Alicia Vikander landed the coveted role of Lara Croft in the 2018 Tomb Raider reboot. Despite succeeding Angelina Jolie as the video game heroine, Alicia is only sitting on a net worth around $8 million, which is a far cry from Angelina Jolie's stunning net worth of $120 million, which honestly isn't that surprising since the reboot of Tomb Raider definitely didn't live up to the standards of Angelina Jolie. That being said, the first trailer of Alicia's Tomb Raider lit social media on fire, so there is a pretty good chance that the actress's gritty take on the role could be a hit with audiences and span a larger paycheck down the road. But hopefully it's just not through another Tomb Raider movie, because that movie seriously didn't do her acting any justice. Number 4, Jared Padalecki. Supernatural has been a reliable staple on the CW network since 2005, with its 15th season being the final season airing in the spring of 2020. The show was such a success that they even made a reboot series called The Winchesters. Since Supernatural ended, fans were indeed obsessed with the series, as it remained strong enough that there was also a launch of a spin-off series in 2017 called Wayward Sisters, which is surprising to hear that the series star, Jared, is only worth around $14 million, despite anchoring the popular show for more than a decade. Granted, Supernatural ended, it has been rumored that there is still a pretty good chance that the show could get more seasons later on due to the show's consistent ratings. And if this does happen, Jared should definitely ask for a raise. With the series having 15 seasons, he was definitely underpaid. While Jared and Jensen are open to the idea of rebooting Supernatural in the future, they just aren't open to the idea as of right now. But give it 2 more years and we'll probably see the famous heartthrobs back on TV doing what they do best. Number 3, Burt Reynolds. The late Burt Reynolds was a Hollywood legend with more than 50 years of acting under his belt. But despite his iconic status and a drink named after him, he only had a net worth around $3 million before he passed away. The Smokey and the Bandit actor was, however, the first to admit that he wasn't the best when it came to his finances, but he did it with that trademark Reynolds charm. He once even told Vanity Fair that he lost more money than possible as he never really watched his spending habits. While Burt was facing foreclosure on his Florida home due to his outrageous spending, he would say, "I've still done well in terms of owning property and things like that, but I haven't been somebody who's been smart about his money. There are a couple of actors who are quite brilliant with the way they handled their money, but they're not very good actors." He then ended the interview with a smile. Number 2, Stephen Baldwin. The Baldwin family as a whole has been so successful that it's pretty easy to imagine that the whole family is rolling in a pile of green behind the doors. But the bottom line for Stephen Baldwin, who happens to be Hailey Bieber's dad, is much different, as he's actually worth only around $1 million, which is pretty low when you compare it to Hailey Bieber's net worth of $20 million. Stephen can owe a lot of his net worth due to the fact that he landed himself in hot water a couple of years ago, after he failed to file income taxes for 3 years. His attorney would then tell CNN later that Mr. Baldwin is a man of faith and it's difficult for him to get jobs in Hollywood that are compatible with his faith. And that's one of the difficulties he's had for paying off the money. Well, maybe one day his wealthy relatives will float him a loan. Number 1, Pamela Anderson. In the 90s, Pamela Anderson pulled off the impressive transition when it came to career moves, as she went from being an X-rated model of the month to a successful actress, thanks to a small role on the sitcom called Home Improvement. After 2 seasons, Pamela made her biggest move by landing her now iconic gig on Baywatch, which paved the way for her starring in her own TV series called VIP. Also, throw in a couple of magazine covers and her infamous marriage to Motley Crue rocker actor Tommy Lee, it's no wonder why Pamela was then later named the most powerful Canadian in Hollywood back in 2005. However, things would then quickly turn south for the actor in 2009 after her career dried up and she found herself in more than $1 million in the hole after blowing tons of the cash renovating her home. She also ran into problems with unpaid taxes in 2012. Now today Pamela is now worth $20 million, which might sound mighty fine to us, but it's not a whole lot in Tinseltown. Well, that's it for this video, my little peaches. Until the next one, remember to stay juicy.